On today's episode of Namaste with Renee, we are going to show you how you can unhook hidden blocks from stress and trauma and breakthrough anxiety with my guest expert, Rachel Hardy. See you inside. Hello and welcome to Namaste with Renee. I am your host, Renee Marcou, CEO of the iHeart Academy and president of the nonprofit Brady's Foundation. In this podcast, we talk about how to enhance your wellness and disrupt the limitation mindset so you can thrive with a healthy mind, body, and spirit. Hello and welcome to Namaste with Renee. I am the host, Renee Marcou. So grateful to be here with a dear friend of mine who is going to blow your socks off. She is so amazing. Just wait till I tell you a little bit about her. Her name is Rachel Hardy. As you can see, she's here in the live episode with me on video. And Rachel is a sought after intuitive coach and mentor. She's a podcast host as well. And she's an astrologer and Akashic Records practitioner. For over 20 years, she has guided entrepreneurs and creatives to make their next leap in soul purpose by healing their nervous system. And it is with divine joy to introduce you to Rachel Hardy. Welcome to the show, Rachel. Thanks for being here with me.
Thank you so much, Renee. I am so excited to be here.
Me too. I'm so excited about this conversation and all that you're going to share. Rachel is an absolute expert at the nervous system and how to help you move on from, any blocks that may be there in your energy or stress and trauma that is causing you to kind of put the blocks out there so you're not able to make that next step. And Rachel and I have so much in common. We were just sharing about before we started the episode. So we just have a lot of fun ready to be shared today. So thanks again for being here, Rachel.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I am overjoyed to be here.
Yay, me too. So tell me, I'm really curious, what got you into doing the healing work that you do today?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so that's been a long story journey, but let's see if I can
Yeah.
condense it all down. I was a body worker for many years. I specialized in a type of work called myofascial release, which
Mm.
incidentally also works with the nervous system, which is such a part of my work today. I studied energy work, a lot of different modalities. I became interested in the nervous system in particular from a couple different directions. And one of them we were just chatting about before the show started, which was from the aspect of being an actor and a performer, and so much stuff that was happening on a nervous system level that I could feel in relation to my work. So there
Yes.
was that piece. I also went through a really long journey with my own health, and I don't know that I've ever shared this piece with you, but I actually lived with an autoimmune condition for 30 years, and I also struggled with really severe clinical depression for many, many years. I was on a lot of medications and just a lot of stuff. Kind of my whole life has been this journey of how do I heal for a long time.
Right. Oh my goodness.
And when I was going through a particularly dark period, I was introduced to a type of work that worked specifically with healing trauma on the body level and healing on a nervous system level. And long story short is that all of the chronic health issues that I lived with for a few decades have completely healed. I'm off all of the meds for many years now. The depression is a thing of the past, which I never expected to happen in this lifetime. Like I did not see that coming. So all of the power of this work of how much is happening under the surface and specifically in our bodies and in our nervous system was so clear and so strong to me. It was like, I've got to know more about this. I have to learn this and I have to share this.
Yes.
So a big piece of my path was deciding to train in a type of work called somatic experiencing, which is a body of work created by Dr. Peter Levine. And this is a 3-year training program that goes very in depth into how the body stores trauma and the actual how to release it and how to discharge this stored energy from the nervous system so that our systems can operate and flow and be in the ease and the joy and the peace that we
Right.
know we're here to live, and
Right.
sometimes we just don't know how to get to. So that piece became a huge part of my work as I began coaching and doing this work to really support women mostly. I work with some men, a lot of women, and a lot of my clients, as you mentioned, are creatives, also a lot of entrepreneurs who are just really looking to expand, looking to really live their purpose. Like they know they're here for more. And
Yeah.
sometimes we come up against kind of those feeling blocks that feel really strong. And all the things we're trying aren't seeming to get through. And so what I love is working with people at kind of that edge, like what's the path, how do we move through
Mm,
into that bigger expression that they're here to do, and the bigger contribution that they know they're here for, and the
right.
service they know they're here to create.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. How do you, when you start to work with people who are really like they have that for sure, like it's in the nervous system, they know, it's manifested as maybe anxiety,
Mhm.
or like nervousness to say get on stage to perform their act or to, open up their own business or something like that. How do you take somebody through that process? Is it through
Mhm.
like a talking, coaching kind of a situation, or like are there any type of medical things involved, like food and water? I mean, I'm sure
Mhm.
there's
Mhm.
so much.
Mhm.
So I know it's pretty loaded of a question, but how do you start that process with somebody?
Great question. Yeah. So a lot of the work that we do, so to answer that, the first piece and the really crucial first step is really about bringing someone into their body in a new, safe way. And
Oh,
when there's been trauma, when there's been all
mm,
the stuff that's happened that's caused us to have to leave our bodies and have to kind of exist outside, or we're kind of here but in the head, or operating
right.
from the thoughts, there can be all of this stuff that's literally stuck and trapped in the body, in the nervous system. But to be able to work with it, we have to be able to actually come into contact with it in a safe way. And
Mm,
that's the kicker, because in the past, it wasn't safe to be in the body. It was literally too much. That's the definition of trauma.
mm,
So the first step to answer your question is about creating safety in the body in a new way.
mm,
And that's a big piece of what I do, is guiding, supporting, helping clients to come into the body and to learn how to actually be present and feel and exist here
mm,
without it being too much. So we often do it gradually. We do it in the ways that feel safe and okay to their system, because all of these old patterns that were formed under trauma are typically going to kind of kick in and want to unconsciously start to run the show again, if that makes
for
sense.
sure.
For example, like
Absolutely.
jumping into the
Right.
head when things get uncomfortable is a really common example. Like
Yes.
as soon as something gets too much, we'll jump into the head to analyze it.
Right.
And that's where what I do is, to answer your question, it is through talking, but it's really different than talk therapy, because it's not about talking about the things. It's not about telling the story or talking about what happened.
Mm,
It's about gently, safely guiding and feeling into, okay, but what's happening in here? What's
mm,
going on right now?
yes.
What's the sensation? Is it okay to be with that? Or is it too scary? Do we need to bring in some safety practices to kind of ease and moderate it a bit, and then come in some more. And we talk to the body on a whole different level, if that makes sense,
Mm.
so that we're getting in and feeling what's happening instead of thinking about what's happening.
So it's like having that actual experience of like calling yourself back into your body and really settling into the body and saying, this is what's coming up. Can I ask you
Yes.
in regards to that, what are some of the signs that people might actually have a nervous system that's really, I don't know what the term would be that you would call it, but let's say like a high strong nervous system, like responsive in that way? Like what are some of the signs?
Yeah, yeah. So a term we might use is dysregulated. Does that make
Dysregulated, thank
sense?
you.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah. And the way this shows up can be, as unique as we are, obviously, and as varied as we are. But something that can be helpful as a framework to take a look at and get our heads around what's going on is understanding something a lot of people have probably heard of, which is like fight, flight, or freeze patterning.
Yes.
And when we start to break it down into those terms, sometimes it can be helpful to start to recognize, oh, my body is stuck in fight flight. It's
Mm,
stuck in a high sympathetic charge, which is the fight flight response. I
mm,
can't calm down. I'm in a bunch of racing thoughts. There's anxiety loops. The heart's racing. The muscles are chronically stuck in tension patterns. I
mm.
came into this from a bodywork background, so that was another one of my oh my gosh, this is fascinating here pathways, was what's going on when these muscles get chronically stuck in tension patterns that you can release over and over again, but
Oh,
it keeps going back into the same pattern. Like
right.
something's happening there.
Yeah.
And one thing that can be going on is if the nervous system is chronically stuck in a fight flight response, it's sending these messages to the muscles over and over again: contract, defend, be careful, be on guard. And
Right.
there's this, oh my God, I have to be on alert. It's not safe. That's kind of present through the whole body.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
so if that makes sense, looking at like a fight flight response
Mm,
showing up can be helpful.
mm,
And then, of course, another response is that the body can go into what we call a freeze or a shutdown or the
yes.
dorsal vagal response. And that's where essentially there's been too much and the body kind of goes into, okay, I'm shutting down, like I can't, and I'm
Yes.
way oversimplifying this, but again, I think it can be helpful to kind of identify if I'm going through depression, for example, and I don't ever like oversimplifying things like depression
Mhm.
because there's so many pieces and factors to consider.
Right.
But it can be helpful to go to look at, is it possible that my nervous system is in a shutdown response? And maybe it's not about me needing to, just think positive, or I just need to have a better attitude, or if I, you know, get up and go, maybe it'll change. It may be deeper than that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Rachel, I can see that this work that you do literally is miraculous for so many people because, there's so many opportunities, I'll say, where people can, think, oh, well, I'm going to trust, what my doctor says about this and no hard feelings towards doctors or anything like that. But when you really can understand the process that your body's going through, it brings up that opportunity for you to look in the mirror and say, this is what my body's actually trying to communicate to me. Like, I'm
Hmm.
stuck in a trauma in this particular situation that is mirroring to me my body, shutting down or like you had said, the fight, flight, or freeze, like any of those, and really starting to notice it. And then be willing to explore that to say, oh, and I'm
Hmm.
sure this is what you do with your clients and how they get their amazing results is like, what is that hidden block or like that stress and trauma that's
Mhm.
breaking, that flow or that's not letting you be fully in your body. Like I can
Yeah.
share from my experience. I know a lot of people in my community know that my first career was a singer and
Yeah.
I still am a singer, but
Mhm.
back then I was like came from being a very, very shy little girl, like painfully shy, hiding behind my dad. My hands and feet were always sweating. I like
Mhm.
oftentimes was holding my breath, not even knowing it. So my body
Yeah.
started, would get hot very quickly. Like this, this still happens in my adult life too, but thankfully
Mhm.
I'm more
Mhm.
aware of it and it's not as frequent because back in the day I used to be just so shy and scared to even like leave my house. Like just very
Totally.
I was just nervous all the time, right? So it was like my nervous system was definitely reacting to something, right? And when I had started my music career when I was 15, I was
Mhm.
connected with Source and I said, I really want to be out there. I really want to use my voice. I know that you've given me this voice for this reason. I feel like it's my duty to show up in this way. And I remember hearing, well, like it's time to
Mhm.
stop being so nervous and stop being so shy in the sense of like facing that fear. But what I didn't really know at the time, and now like hearing from you and learning all the beautiful things that you share on your social media and everything too, is like there are these certain triggers that your body is really trying to express
Yeah.
that could be just as well for me, these hidden blocks, and these um how would I say like being so out of my body sometimes because I'm so afraid to be in my body and feeling so hot. Right. So it's like,
Sure.
yeah, I totally when it comes to like feeling nervous, that's been part of my life forever. And I mean,
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
totally can meet anybody there who's there, and I just
Totally.
decided, like, I wasn't going to let that rule my future, of course, because I mean, years later, I'm here with you on camera, right? I have a network, so, like, I had to do something somewhere, but it is really interesting, like, even just to know how deeply connected my breath is to just
Yeah.
even taking a breath. And, oh, okay, cool. I feel, like, physically the energy from my body, you know,
Mhm.
leaving
Mhm.
that state, whatever it may be.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that the feeling of leaving the state, and also what you're saying is just making me think about how there's layers and layers to this work. And it's
Yes,
like
yes,
we heal and we go deeper, and then the next level of expression wants to come out, and there's
exactly.
another layer
Yes,
sometimes to
yes.
move
Oh my
through.
god.
So yeah.
Yeah. And so for anyone who's listening who's really feeling activated by this and like, "Oh, that's me too."
Mhm.
How could you leave a tip for somebody who
Mm.
wants to really come back into their body in these experiences? Like, anything that could be just like maybe a general for anybody at any different stages.
Mhm. Could I lead us through like a really quick practice or two? I
Oh
mean,
my
like real
goodness,
fast. Do we have
yes,
time for that? Okay.
yes,
Because
absolutely.
one of the things I always like to say is that yes to what you said, and I'm something I'm so passionate about is the uniqueness of our nervous systems and of our individual makeup. And
Mhm.
so sometimes, especially when we're working with the nervous system, something that has one reaction for one system might have a different for
Oh,
another. And
okay.
I think that's so important to acknowledge because we don't fit in boxes,
Right,
and
that's for
if
sure.
if a practice, there's not something wrong with you if you're feeling this as opposed to this. It's
Yeah.
all that would be my tip. Okay, that would be my tip right there, is that your nervous system is unique. And yeah, let me guide you real quick through a practice. But the key is about getting to know your system
Mm,
rather than trying to fit into something that should be fixing you, if that
Yes.
makes
Oh my
sense.
gosh, Rachel, it sounds amazing. And yes, it totally makes sense because how many times do we want to put labels on us to be like, oh, I have this, or I have this, or I have this. And then we're like, we're just fitting in with the crowd, but it's really so individual, like you said. And I love that that's what you stand for behind your work.
Yeah. Or we've tried all the things. This was me for
Yeah.
so long. We've tried
Yeah.
everything and like, why is nothing working? What's wrong with me?
Right.
So
For
yeah,
sure. I
that was a
totally
big
understand that.
part of my path. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Can I guide
Yes.
us through just like a minute long practice?
Yes, please.
Let's just take a minute first and feel your seat on the seat of whatever you're sitting on, and actually just let your attention stay there. Like, don't just notice it, but like go to the seat meeting the chair and just stay there. And just notice what your breath does without changing it. See if you can just let your breath happen and notice what it's doing. And if it feels good, we might take a hand and just connect it to the chest. I'll give a couple options here. On, like Renee, I noticed it looked like your system just spontaneously took a breath there. So maybe just feeling that, if there is like a spontaneous deepening or settling. Here's another thing we could try. Take your right hand and just cup it around your left chest. And then take your left hand and wrap it over the right arm. It's like a little self hug.
Mm.
And now just feel the hands against the arms and the arms against the body, and feel the seat against the seat. And without changing, without managing, notice your breath. And we'll drop in one more little piece here, which is, in your own time, just let your eyes explore the space you're in. Like literally see your room, take in all the time you need, real slow, to see what's around you. And at the same time, you're feeling the seat against the seat. And if there's a bit of settling or dropping or easing, just attuning to that. And just notice what you notice, whatever's present, giving it a bit of space. Beautiful. And then just letting that go and just noticing how you feel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And if there's an ah there, feel
Yeah.
the ah. And again, for anyone listening, if there's not an ah, that is okay too. What we're up to is creating some space around whatever's happening in your physiology, because that's what's actually key to letting it move and release, is letting it safely be there and letting it move.
Oh, Rachel, that was beautiful.
Awesome.
Oh my goodness. Just noticing how you said, like, really notice where the breath begins. I could see
Mhm.
a difference in the pattern and taking in like a stronger breath, but not letting it
Uh-huh.
all out. And I put my
Yeah.
hand on my heart. Oh, safety.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
safe. And
Yeah.
this is my expression for feeling love when someone gives me a compliment or when somebody shares a win with me or something for their life. And it's like, you feel it in your heart. That gave me that sense of deeper breath.
Beautiful. Uh-huh.
Yes.
And
Oh
if we were
my,
going to take that a step further, if you're going to take it further on your own, I would have you feel into the sensations you feel as you feel that, and
oh,
just deepen into that. Yeah.
wow.
So
Oh my gosh.
nice.
It's like an inner, like it's like inside massage.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
Like you can like literally feel the different parts of your body on the inside, like the muscles. Like relaxing your breathing, just like settling back in. Those
Yeah.
That was so powerful. And that hug position too, felt like that to me was a sense of safety and love as well. Oh,
Yeah.
you for that. That
Very
was so
cool.
beautiful. I hope that
Awesome.
everybody enjoyed it. I know that they have. So thank you so
Awesome.
much for those tools.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, my
Mm.
dear Rachel, we could literally go on forever. But I know we're coming to the end of the episode. So, for sure, I would love to have you back. I think that we could explore more of this together. But for anyone of our listeners who feels really activated and wants to reach out to you, where can
Mhm.
they find you?
Yeah, my website is embodiedfrequency.com.
Mm.
And you can contact me through there, or I'm also on Facebook. They can feel free to message me, and I'll probably link my stuff somewhere when we
Yes,
when we share this episode. So they
absolutely.
can, yeah, feel free to reach out.
Oh my goodness. Well, I can't thank you enough for being here on this episode, Rachel. Like, I would literally go on forever with you and
Hey.
continue our conversation. But for sure, please come back to Namaste with Renee. I know our listeners would really love to learn more about you and your journey, that has
Mm,
helped you really uncover this beautiful work of art that you bring as a service to all. So
thank
thank
you
you
so
so much
much.
for yeah, absolutely. Thanks again. And for now, blessings and namaste to each and every single one of you who have tuned in today. We'll see you in another episode. Thank you.